Welcome to Mangrove Lagoon. I hope you're having a blessed day. I wanted to start with a short introduction to the tank and hardware while it's still bare, because there's something about the look of a clean system that is unique and will never be seen again. The system is designed around the display and health of 3 red mango trees, a rhizophore mangrove, hence the name Mangrove Lagoon. My plan is to use the mangroves as the primary source of nutrient uptake, as well as the live rock and sand for biological filtration. The fish waste will just be fertilizer for the trees. I live on a small ranch in East Texas, and most of my time I spend outdoors or walking my dog. There are times though, like right now in late July, where it's too hot. It's literally 99 degrees outside. Or other times when the days get short in the winter and it gets dark around 5:30. I wanted to create an indoor mini ecosystem that could substitute for my missed time in nature. So the idea of growing a few trees in a saltwater tank really appealed to me. I wanted to keep it simple and low maintenance. My current grow-out setup has been running for a little over a year now. Has actually done better than expecting in keeping my nutrient levels down. Here's the current system. I got the mangroves off of eBay last year when they only had 1 set of leaves. I first started them in the 10 gallons suspended on a PVC structure. The roots grew well with some liquid fertilizer added, but I could tell after a few months they wanted to be planted. That's when I set up the 20 long and put them in some substrate with live rock and other livestock. The mangroves took off from there, putting out new leaves about every 6 weeks, and have been in this current setup for just over a year. I did cut the growth tip off last fall to encourage them to split and limit their vertical height. Recently though, they have grown new branches on their own, so I must be doing something right. I did add root tabs to the substrate because around 6 months ago a few leaves started to show some discoloration. As you can see here, there are no filter socks or skimmer, just some cheap lights, a heater, a return pump, and an auto tap off. It's not perfect. I do have some hair allergy, but everything seems happy and the levels have remained stable. My nitrates actually get low, so I've been dosing Brightwell Aquatics Neo Nitro to keep them around 5, and my phosphates stay around 0.03 to 0.1. I even have a few corals that came on the live rock from Tampa Bay saltwater, and both seem to be growing slowly. Here's the first one. The polyps aren't out right now. It's not looking best. But this one I believe is Oculina robusta, a protected small polyp stony coral found off the waters in Florida. I originally thought it was just a dead skeleton, but after a week or so the polyp started coming out and has grown from the size of a dime to over a quarter. The other one out here are 3 colonies of what I believe to be hidden cup coral. It's a large polyp NPS stony coral. The 2 is growing slowly with several new polyps. I feed it a wide variety of frozen meaty foods a few times a week. I also have mussels producing in the tank. You can see a couple of them over here. Where are they? Right up there. Sorry about the shaking. Couple over here. There are now a few dozen on old dry rock and have seen been multiplying in the tank after a year. It means they must like the dirtier water provided by the lack of filtration. There are only 3 fish in the system, a yellowtail damsel and 2 banggai cardinals. I have 4 sand conchs and multiple snails as a cleanup crew, as well as a sand sifting starfish that I've had for over 6 months and has also grown a little bit. Back to the new tank. It's 3/4 inch acrylic and measures 48 by 36 by 16. Now you're probably wondering why I set the water level so low. That's because I'm dumb and bought a used tank on Marketplace. When I got home, I noticed that I had a good bit of crazing at the seams. I then tested it on the back porch with 10 to 11 inches of water for a few months and no changes or no leaks, so I'm willing to take the chance. I did get it for pretty cheap. When shopping for the tank, I wanted this exact size to fit this space here in my office. So if I want to remain happily married, I'm going to have to make it work. I'm just losing a few inches of height for the corals. It might be a good thing actually, because when testing it inside with the AUC running in the Texas summer, I was only getting about a half gallon of evaporation a day. For a 12-inch square footprint, that's not bad. Hopefully it will also prevent some of the fish from jumping so easily. Another tank requirement of mine was to have all 4 sides clear instead of the standard back glass, so the mangrove trees and roots would stand out more. That's also a reason why I set the sump to one side, along with an ease of maintenance. I ended up going with a modular marine 1200 gallon an hour overflow, bean animal style, that flows into a standard 29 gallon sump. With the sump, I created baffles to allow the drain lines to run straight down, then the water flows counterclockwise around to the return pump. I like the look of the exposed plumbing and sump instead of hiding everything under a cabinet. The tank came pre-drilled with 3 holes for bulkheads. The 2 on the bottom I'm using for a closed loop. And I drilled another on the top for symmetry and a second return line. All 3 pumps are Jabao 400 gallon per hour, running over 12 watts each, and I'll have a 4th as a backup when I break down the current growout setup. That's going to be the extent of my water flow. No power heads, as I wanted a clean look over the top of the tank. The lower flow will also prioritize the top-down view without having to constantly shut off the pumps every time I want to gaze at the tank. For lighting, I went with 4 Quanta Helix 35-inch strip lights hanging from the ceiling. 2 of them are the Tropic Suns and the other 2 are Reef Crest Daylight. I wanted more of a white spectrum, shallow reef instead of the common blue lighting mostly used nowadays. For those of you not familiar with Quanta lights, they're a small US company, but the lights are sourced out to China. Their owner is a hobbyist that wanted to make a quality light affordable to other reefers. I only heard good things online and great customer service. I'd highly recommend them to anyone shopping for new lights. I'm not entirely happy with my cable management, but it did get the cords out of the way and kept the back clear. And behind the door here, I also mounted the 4 drivers on a piece of aluminum as the owner suggested. Lastly, I have a gravity-fed auto top-off, yet to be hooked up, utilizing a float valve. And then I'll have 2 200-watt heaters in the sump, and that's it. Again, as low-tech as possible. We'll see how it all works out long-term. I hope y'all will join me along the way. Thanks for watching, and remember to take a few quiet moments throughout your day to listen to what the Lord has to say to you.